Here we go.
All right. Hi, Ed. Good to
Hello,
see you
Zena.
again.
How are you? So
I'm good.
I guess welcome to our digital deals. I know you're here to interview me about RedSwan and our activities. I'm really excited to talk to you. I know that you have a lot of experience in the tech world, working with JLL and also working with RedSwan on a consulting level, advisory level, and we appreciate that. And I kind of want to talk to you because I know you're interacting with a lot of the clients that I'm interacting with on a PropTech level. And I'm sure they're curious about what's happening on a fintech level for real estate as well. So you're a great person to talk to, and I'm hungry to hear your questions. So
I'm so glad you invited me to do this, Ed. I wanted to start just by, I think everybody's awed by your story. So can we discuss your background and what or why you made the leap to fintech when you were clearly successful as a director and broker with some of the top firms?
yeah, I guess, thank you for that. I guess I get bored quick. That's one reason why I made the change. Before being in commercial real estate for 18 years with both Cushman & Wakefield and Colliers, I was in automotive space for a good 16 years and did really well there, opening up 7 different locations in Northern California. But I actually had a very good friend of mine who was a golf player that got me into tech. He said, hey, this automotive business you're in, we could probably put it on the internet and create a .com company out of it. And so we did. We actually took the automotive parts section and created a logistics company using the internet. So that was venture backed. That raised about $95 million through the top venture capitalists in Silicon Valley at that time. And we exited that company to a Fortune 500 company. So I was really excited about that whole process and what went on from, sitting there working with all the engineers to create a website for $10 million and also hiring almost 200 employees. That was very exciting. And so once I exited from that business and came to Texas, I figured that I was going to get back into automotive, but in an inappropriate way, I got involved in real estate. And the real estate
everybody does here.
Pardon me?
If you come to Texas, you've got to be involved in real estate.
Yeah, you come to Texas, you got to do something big, right? And so I wanted to go back and buy a business, and the brokers that were showing me around all the business opportunities saw that I was pretty quick with numbers and reading financial statements, and they offered me a job to work with them to help sell businesses as a business broker. I accepted that position because I figured it would give me a chance to really see what businesses are in Houston, Texas, and which ones I can possibly acquire for myself. So I took that on and became a business broker. 1 year into that business, I brought a lot of listings, about $25 million worth of listings to the business. And they thought, wow, this is unheard of. And they told me that I don't belong at the real estate brokerage. I need to belong at a commercial real estate company. And I said, well, where are they located, right? And so the guy gave me the book of lists for Houston, which showed the top 50 companies in Houston. And I tore that list in half and started knocking on the top 10 real estate firms in Houston, and was given 2 offers, one from Cushman & Wakefield, which is going to start at a later date, and one from Colliers, which wanted me to start immediately. So I started working at Colliers in real estate just because the opportunity was immediate, and gained a lot of experience with apartments at that time. And then Cushman & Wakefield recognized me that I was new and growing and pretty aggressive in Houston, and said, you got to lead our division for Texas or for Houston and multifamily. And so I was honored that they were giving me a chance to be the leader of that division and elevated from Colliers to Cushman & Wakefield. So that's how I got into the business. With regards to transferring over to blockchain, again, after 16, 17 years at Cushman & Wakefield, I started to get, seeing where things were going in terms of the business. I saw the fees were starting to get lesser and less. We're splitting the fees up with teams. We're negotiating for less fee because of all the competition in the marketplace. And it just seemed like, every year I'm doing more volume and I'm making good money. I'm not complaining about that, but it was actually less and less percentage wise to the size of the deals, right? And I realized that eventually we're going to be out of a job because you can see the bigger companies were consolidating. They were pushing everybody towards a CRM so that you can now put your brain trust into the database. And then younger people can actually pick up where you left off. So I knew that at the end of the day, the industry was going to contract. And one of my buddies who was with me when I first founded the first .com company called me and said, you need to go see this blockchain conference in Dallas, Texas. And I said, blockchain, what is blockchain? He says, oh, it's new technology. You just got to, I said, I don't have time for this, Ernest. And he said, no, you got to go. So I went, and I was very, very impressed by the number of people at the conference, the number of people who were extremely successful by investing in cryptocurrency at the conference. But more than that, I learned a little bit about the blockchain technology and how it was used and how other firms overseas were using blockchain to aggregate business. And I said, wow, this is going to be awesome for the real estate industry if we could ever get our arms around it. And then I'd say 3 months later, the SEC came out with a ruling saying that ICOs were banned. They were not going to allow any more ICOs in the United States, but they were authorizing STOs, security token offerings, which was using the blockchain. And so that was the magical moment that said, you know what, I think this is going to be the future. I'm willing to bet everything I've got on it and just jump into it. And I did. I just quit my job and started doing RedSwan full time.
We met about, what, 5 years ago, right? And you had already conceptualized it. I remember I was just trying to get into commercial real estate. Remember, I came to you, I was like, hey, commercial real estate, this is the space I want to be in. And you were like, no, this is the space you want to be in. And it's ironic that I ended up in technology and commercial real estate, and we ended up, coming back around to the same place, right? So back then you had a vision for RedSwan. Now you have a vision for RedSwan. What would you say the overall goal of RedSwan is? The RedSwan marketplace, let me put it that way.
Overall, we want to continue to be the Amazon of commercial real estate on the blockchain. We want to create a lot of content because we think content is king. I've been in capital markets for a long time. Investors want to see options. They always want to look at deals. They never get tired of seeing real estate deals. And so, if you're a broker and you only have one project, then you're not going to be a very successful broker. If you're a broker and you have 15 projects, everyone's going to call you. Everyone's going to want to give you business. And so the name of the game for us was to have a lot of projects that investors can invest into and vet those projects to make sure they're very good projects that so investors are really excited to work with you. And that's what we've been doing with RedSwan, is really aggregating high quality real estate that is, I would say, institutional quality that not everybody gets access to, and then put that on the blockchain and make it available to smaller investors as well as institutional investors. That's our big goal.
To lower the barrier to entry where typically there hasn't been a lot of transparency in the industry. So, I think it's clear that RedSwan is a trailblazer in the industry, right? How do you see it and tokenization, or the tokenization of real estate assets, further revolutionizing the way that commercial real estate does, or the industry does business?
Well, that's a good question. I think that you're right. Barrier to entries have been price point typically, right? So people could not afford to spend $1 million, write a check $1 million to become a part owner in a high-rise apartment building or a office building. The check was too high, and even $250 for some people is still a large check to write. And so that was a big barrier that needed to be broken. And then secondly, the holding period for real estate traditionally is illiquid. So the holding period for any investment, you write a check for $500,000, you're going to say goodbye to that check for a good 3 to 5 years, maybe even 10 years. Yeah. For many people, that is a big problem. That's a pain point that they don't want to endure because they don't have that much capital, right? For big corporations who are used to it, who can assemble and facilitate capital by syndicating it, no problem. But for the average investor that even is accredited, it has $3 million worth of net worth, having $500,000 invested in something and locking it up for 5 to 10 years is not something they're really excited about. So I think that that was really the two pain points that we wanted to correct, provide a solution for, was to lower the barrier to entry and also make the investment more liquid. So they come in, they can also get out pretty quickly.
So you were just, you hit on a really serious pain point of, being liquid and a suitable holding period? What is RedSwan's holding period? And you know, traditionally, you would hold your funds in a bank. Can you discuss, you know, the way you guys are doing it?
The holding period for us is basically by buying a digital asset. If you're a U.S. citizen, you have a 12-month seasoning where you have to hold the investment for at least 12 months. If you're a international investor, what they call Reg S, you don't have that 12-month seasoning. So you can actually buy and you can turn on and sell anytime you want. There's no seasoning period for international investors. So we think that the holding period we're creating is basically allowing people still to get into high quality assets, but 1 year is definitely a lot more attractive than 10 years as a holding period for typical real estate investments. And the way we're structured is that we try to bring down the price point so that the initial allocation you're buying, and they're usually priced at $1 a share, is going to be $1,000 on average. That's the minimum allocation. So if you just wanted to test the waters in real estate, $1,000 is not going to be a very painful investment to make, but it will give you a lot of education in terms of, okay, I'm doing something different. Let me see how well it will work. And we think that that is what people need right now, because a lot of people who have cryptocurrency, and that's over $3 trillion in value right now worldwide, are probably not the most savvy real estate investors, right? And so they're probably a little scared that I don't know what I'm buying. I don't know how to put a value on it. I don't know what the return is going to be. But if I only have to spend $1,000 to learn, then that's a great entry point for me to invest in and then watch and learn and pay attention to it. And then if they get better at it, they'll start buying more. So that's the whole idea of why RedSwan is here.
So you did a really great job at describing the local, the local process versus the international community and what their process is going to be. What's the appetite for this globally? And what's adoption look like locally and globally?
What does adoption look like right now locally?
And globally, yeah.
And globally. Well, we are growing our membership quite rapidly. I think over last year, we're already around 290% growth in membership. We're right over 3,000 members, which is great. And I think we're adding close to 200-300 members a month. So we're trying to keep growing that membership. And the nice thing about it is, I would say 40% of our members are overseas, from Hong Kong, from China, from Turkey. I mean, many different, Canada, Nigeria, Kenya. So we have investors that are all over the world, which we like. And another thing I'm proud about is that these investors are actively making expressions of interest on our projects, that I would invest X amount, I would invest Y amount on different projects. And if I add up, and I always do every week, add up how many expressions of bids people put into our projects, that kind of gives us an idea of the buying power of that membership base, right? And we did that last week, and we're up to $355 million of buying power with just under 4,000 investors.
Great stuff. On a different note, you're not the only person dabbling, or RedSwan's not the only marketplace dabbling in this space, right? So can you briefly describe RedSwan's positioning, especially in comparison to some of your competitors or people doing similar things?
I never pay attention to my competitors. I used to think that was a barrier, and you're racing against your competitors, hurry up, move fast so you can stay ahead. But every time I look back, I feel like I'm racing against myself, right? There are people out there who are in the same space, and they're doing things slightly different, I think. There are people who were in a different space. Like, for example, CrowdStreet is a traditional crowdfunding platform. They started several years ago, and we welcomed them to the market because they proved out that smaller investors want to invest in high quality product. It just was not affordable. So they proved out that if you lower the price, smaller investors will get involved in quality deals. But they're now realizing that those investors who invested in quality deals need an exit. They don't want to have their money tied up in those deals for 5 to 10 years. So now they've announced they're moving over into the tokenization space, and they'll tokenize some of their investments to provide liquidity for their investors. So that's another competitor who just joined the market. There's several others who were here before us. Some are no longer in existence, and some are still pushing the needle, trying to add value to the industry. I won't mention any names just because I'm sure you know who some of our major competitors are, but I think that it's not a race. And I think that the market is so large that I don't worry about who's number one, who's number two, who's number five, because as long as we're relevant in the marketplace, we're going to be able to capture a very large percentage of $75 trillion marketplace.
All right, you've kind of covered this already, but if you could just kind of bullet point for whoever's listening to this, the audience, people who want to know, what are the advantages of blockchain versus traditional deal making?
Well, we talked about liquidity, which is a major advantage, and we talked about lower price point, which is a major advantage. But there's advantages on the investor side, because now the investor gets to really create a balanced portfolio of a REIT, a private REIT, if you will, of investments. They can now start buying high rises in New York, office buildings in San Francisco, retail centers in the Caribbean. They can pick and choose the type of investments they want and create their own basket, right? And then be able to monitor those investments over time, even though they're only investing, $2 to $3 or even $10,000 on each asset. It's still a very lucrative business for them. So I think that's a major benefit, that they can now create a very broad portfolio of commercial real estate, but also the fact that they can trade on those assets, right? This is something they've never been able to do before.
That's what I got excited about. I mean, that's fantastic.
Any way you can make more money in this industry is a good thing, right? So if you buy a project that is paying you a 8% cash on cash dividend and promises to pay you a 19% IRR over 5 years, but you can trade out of it tomorrow because somebody wants to pay you a premium, and now you're just generated an IRR for that trade of 22% right now on the shares you trade. And then if something happens where you see an opportunity to buy the real estate back at the shares back at a cheaper price, because maybe a hurricane came through the town, maybe something happened in terms of the demographics, and you'll be able to buy the real estate back for a cheaper price and then ride it back up and then sell it again. This allows for individuals now to start using their own intellect to create value on the shares they own, as opposed to just sitting there as passive investors and really praying that the sponsor that you bought into is going to do their job and create the kind of yield that they promised. So it allows you to be more independent in creating additional value from the real estate that you're investing in.
I think that people have been asking for this, throughout not just investments, but in their lives, right? People want stuff at their fingertips. They want to be able to get in and out very quickly. So I think that you've done a great job and your team has done a great job of providing a product that basically gives the people what they want. So on that note, I think that I would hope that all of us are looking or dabbling in crypto. Do you guys take crypto? Does RedSwan take crypto and fiat? Can you do a combination? How do you make your purchase? How do people get on today?
Before we started, we said, hey, we're going to just sell. Everyone has to pay in fiat dollars, wire the money in, and we'll give you digital. But, I started realizing that the audience of people who don't have fiat or don't have cryptocurrency aren't that intelligent right now about the benefits of blockchain, right? So they still have a learning curve to learn, but those who do have crypto have already started experiencing how to move it, how to create a wallet, how to transfer it, how to trade. They're more, I think, adept in terms of how to make money with digital assets than people who have never bought crypto before. So we started shifting our focus on crypto owners because we know that they already understand and they're looking for something they can invest into that's digital. It is also more stable, so they won't have a lot of volatility, and it will also earn them some dividends. So we started focusing on cryptocurrency owners as well as fiat owners. And yes, we do accept crypto. We accept USDC, USDT. We are now accepting Dogecoin for 2 of our projects. And I'm sure in time we'll be accepting Bitcoin for certain of our projects. Thanks to our relationship with Coinbase, we're able to take in any kind of cryptocurrency and convert it into a USDC or USDT or US dollar, fiat dollar,
Okay.
and satisfy the needs of our sponsors.
All right. So that gives us a good segue into this. So correct me if I'm wrong, but currently RedSwan has over 2 billion in assets listed within the marketplace, which really speaks to the level of trust of, both the platform, but also the momentum of this movement. Is there an asset that if you could tell somebody today, this is a great opportunity to invest or a good opportunity to invest, is there a property that you'd like to briefly discuss?
I don't want to show any favoritism on the platform, but there are a lot of, we vetted every property on our platform. So that means that the sponsors are experienced. They've done it several times before successfully. That the project they have right now has a yield that makes sense, and also has a forecast that we believe makes sense. We applied the same vetting process that we used when I was with Cushman Wakefield, looking at billions of dollars worth of deals, towards looking at projects coming on board RedSwan. We say no a lot, right? Because a lot of things don't make sense. A lot of people are doing something for the first time and want to see if your investors will help them do it. And I'm saying, no, we want only seasoned real estate sponsors to be on the platform, because we want to make sure we have less risk for our investors. But yeah, we have 2.6 billion right now. We have another, almost $1 billion in progress of deals we're working on. And I'm really hiring more brokers, real estate brokers, as well as broker dealers, to increase the platform so we would have more options to share with our investors. Did I answer that question?
You did.
Okay,
You didn't show any favoritism, as you said.
Oh, but I will talk about one deal. Okay, there's one I like a lot, and this is a deal in Dallas. It's called Intro, and it's a multifamily project. It has 404 units. It's on a tract of land. It's 18 acres. And the sponsor is a big sponsor. They have over 18,000 units in the marketplace under management. They're developing on lots of great development projects in Austin. They have almost 230 acres of land. They're going to be developing a mini city on. They have another 100 acres. They're developing mixed use on. So they're very, very astute sponsors. And this particular project is a cash flowing B class, B plus multifamily asset that is in a great location in Dallas. It's right in the Addison area, which is highbrow and young, high demographic location. And they're going to take this B class asset and break it into phases, 4 phases. And phase 1 will be a mid-rise multifamily. Phase 2 will be a mid-rise multifamily. Phase 3 would be a mid-rise multifamily, and phase 4 will be a mid-rise multifamily. So you're going to create from $56 million worth of asset, close to $700 million worth of new development on that same tract of land. And what I'm excited about is I know that marketplace can absorb that kind of quality, because it really, a Class B does not fit very well in a marketplace that has high demographics. You want Class A because they can afford to pay that rent. So this is kind of like such a very no-brainer investment. You're buying into the land, which is actually an apartment building that's operating and making cash flow. And I think it's like I won't talk any percentages because, I'm not trying to encourage people as an investment, but it's generating cash flow. And when they segment off one of the phases and tear down some of the older units to build a new mid-rise for another 250 units, that's going to create more value for the investors. So they're really getting on the ground floor and being the base of this $700 million opportunity. So I like that one a lot. Okay. But I also like, quite a few others on the platform. So I think people should just look. If they have any questions, our sales guys will be able to help them identify kind of what's a good fit for their needs.
So they go to the website redswan.io and sign up for an account and curate their own portfolio of assets.
Or securities. I think we make it easy. You can go on, you sign up, you answer a few questions. We want to make sure we do a little bit of KYC. Once you establish an account, you have a username and password, of course, and now you have access to go and see all the various projects we bring on the platform. And then when you want to actually download the financial statements all you have to do is push the button for, release of download, at least release of financial statements, and you automatically sign a confidentiality agreement with DocuSign. And then there's a slight process where they check you out to make sure you are who you say you are. And then you're given an email saying you're now authorized to look into download the financial statements for that project and do your due diligence.
I
But
like
you
it.
can do
You
that
gotta-
with several projects.
I like it. You got to stop the bots. Got to stop the bots.
Yeah, well, we want it self-serve. I don't want to be the person that, hey, send me this, Ed, send me that, Ed, I need to do this. No, now people are on their computer, they're like doing their due diligence on the desktop. They can drill down and see financial statements. They can see rent rolls. They can see the note. They can make intelligent decisions right off their desktop. They don't need to fly and see the property. I mean, if you're making a $10,000 investment, there's no reason for you to fly out and go survey the property. Basically, the property's in a good location. It has a good management. That it's well occupied. You can make very quick decisions on making an investment of that size. Now, if you're going to write a check for $10 million or $20 million, you might want to go down and do a lot of due diligence because you're a major investor. But in our case, our investors are following behind major investors who've already done a lot of that due diligence for you, and they're just going along for the ride.
And PropTech as well, touring the market virtually has become bigger than ever, especially, due to the pandemic. So that's great that you guys are providing all that information and all the checks and balances. Here's a little bit of a wild card. And if you can't think of anyone or you don't want to say who you're looking at or who you admire, but the question is, if RedSwan could partner with anyone, in your space or outside of your space, who'd you want to partner with?
We're partnering with a lot of people. A lot of opportunities for partnership are coming our way, and I'm being very careful to make sure there's a really good fit. People come to say they want to bring money, they want to bring talent, they want to bring technology. And I'm always saying, well, what is that money, talent, and technology going to do for our growth? If they can articulate that well, then that's the first step to making a partnership. But we've just partnered with a group out of Vietnam who is, they've been buying a lot of real estate, and they have a lot of investors want to buy real estate. And we're going to be, showcasing a lot of our assets on their channel so that their investors can buy into our projects faster. Who else? We're partnering with, we partner with a lot of people, but I think we're looking for expansion. So opportunities where we can actually, expand in different markets to generate more accredited investors on our platform. We're also partnering with people with technology who want to help build RedSwan version 2.0. And so we're looking for big companies that can help us do that. So we're also going to be partnering with investors, right, who want to come in and take advantage of this opportunity.
Definitely. All right. So I think that we've done a good job, and you've done a good job of hyping this up. And somebody out there is saying, gosh, well, how do I invest in RedSwan itself? Right. So what is that opportunity for folks to, invest in RedSwan?
Well, good question. Right now we have a Reg CF that has been authorized, which means the SEC has kind of let us raise funds with a regulatory CF round. We're using Seed Invest as the catalyst for that. They're doing a very good job. So if a person wants to invest in our company stock, right now we're raising that Series A round, and they can go to Seed Invest /RedSwan and go through all the financials and all the investment deck that we have there, and they can make an investment right on the Seed Invest platform, and that comes to us. And so we're raising $5 million this way. And then after we've done that, within the next 12 months, we'll be working on our Series B. And I'm hoping that at that Series B level that we can actually tokenize our company stock and take it to the public for a much better price point. So right now it's a great opportunity to get in because we're still growing and we're still relatively priced, I think, at a low level. I think I can't mention what the dollar amount of our shares are, but it's at a low level. And I think the next round will be much, much higher.
Okay, maybe we can put that link, so someone can go directly there and invest today. Ed, it's been a pleasure as usual. And thank you again. This has been fun and informational, and it's just more exciting every time we discuss it. So thanks again.
No, Zena, thank you. I think appreciate the questions and the interview. And we look forward to recircling back so we can talk about some of the additional success we've had. Things are changing very quickly. and I'm excited about a lot of things we're doing. We didn't touch on all of it right now, but I think we'll save some of the other more interesting things for our next interview.
Agreed.
So thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.